Hi, Joe Henshaw here again, your walking constitution from the San Francisco Peninsula. And today's subject is one I mentioned before, and it's a familiar one, but for those of you that haven't heard, especially about traffic courts, and this applies across the board, by the way, not just traffic, but you get out there, with the CPS, the DMV, the FTB, I mean, you name the alphabet agency. And the good news about all this is that the U.S. Supreme Court has finally been acting like a judicial court for the first time in 90 years into their third term with an all-out assault on the administrative state. And that's good news for all of us because that's exactly what the DMV is. It's never been anything more than that. And they make up all these laws and rules and say you're subject to them. But the problem with that, particularly in California, if not where you are as well, it's in black and white here because every act they do in Sacramento is in the name of the people of the state of California, the sovereign body politic. The problem with that is we're conspicuously undefined in the Constitution they think is currently in effect. Oh, that's a real problem for openers. And it gets worse than that too because we're systematically excluded from all departments of government. In other words, we're per se incompetent, and that'll seem familiar to a lot of you to hit the doors of the traffic court and other courts, whether it's the family law court, probate court, whatever it is, you're incompetent. How in the world can that be right? When you look at the definition out of Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1859, the official definitions at the time of the words and phrases of the Constitution pursuant to Congress, citizen, one who has the power to vote for representatives and all office in government, and who is qualified to receive all offices in the gift of the people. That's competence. What the hell happened here in the last 160 years? And, like any good attorney, and there aren't too many of those anymore these days, but you never ask a question you can't answer. And that goes back to that 14th Amendment that I've talked a lot about on other videos. And you learn, from my materials and what you can get, and send me an email, uwinningcourt@gmail.com, that the 14th Amendment not only does not exist, it never has. And that's the only jurisdiction these administrative tribunals have. They're not in a judicial court at all, even if a jury shows up there. Because if we're incompetent coming into the front door of the courthouse, they sure as hell have to be incompetent coming through the back, don't they? And they'll never get advised or never get our jury instructions to them that tells them they have the right to rule on the facts and the law. That's the federated Republican government of defined and limited powers we're supposed to have, not the de facto National Socialist elected despotism that we have today that concern, olden time racists like Madison and Jefferson. I'll read Federalist Papers number 48, and you'll see what they were talking about. It's exactly what we have today. There's no electorate, no elections, no jury trials, no nothing. They're not there. We have no rights that the de facto National Socialist government is bound to respect. They never make any attempt, especially in a traffic court, to sustain their burden of proof because it's impossible to do. It's much easier to just let the cop not show up and they dismiss in the interest of justice and have a nice day. But that's not how it's supposed to work. And that's what we're trying to fix, whether it's traffic court, criminal court, I mean, you name it. And the truth of the matter is, they're the ones that don't want to go to trial. Even in their corrupt courts and with the corrupt system, they're going to get a directed verdict of guilt. But it can take a while to do that with jury selection and things like that. And they don't have the quote unquote judges, the courtrooms. So, especially in traffic cases, they don't want to go there. And that follows a lot of these stupid ass codes they have on the books, too. So, that's good news for all of us. And you can learn how to take advantage of this, get my paperwork in there, not only get the case dismissed, but at one and the same time set an unopposed record we can come back with and bite them in the ass, and big time, for violating their oaths of office. and subjecting us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws. To learn more about that, send me an email, uwinningcourt@gmail.com. And I've got things in progress right now that may help change the legal landscape as well, including a couple of petitions going to the U.S. Supreme Court. And now with some justices there, they're going to understand what we're doing and they will have our backs. That's the exciting part. First time in 90 years. And we actually have this. And if they win the next quote unquote election in 2 years, we're going to get younger conservatives to replace Alito and Thomas, and they'll be there through the 2030s. And now we have a wide open window to get things done, assuming arguendo that the military isn't in full control of the government right now. There are those that think it is. I'm not so sure about that yet. But if we have our courts and our Constitution in place as sovereign, independent states, not federal, insular, territorial possessions, we have a real shot at doing this, which benefits us, our children, and our posterity. And that's why we beat the Bitchute. We're never going to see a jury because that's exactly what we would tell the jury and point to the other side and say, what have they got over there? A handful of attorneys and $2,000 designer Gucci suits. Give me a fucking break. Just not how it works. But we have that power, and I want to teach you about that so you can learn that. And just like me, I'm now 74. My life is still ahead of me. I was a late bloomer to be started. I didn't learn 50 years ago in high school like I should have right outside of Washington, D.C. But better late than never. And now that I know, I want to put it out there and help you learn to do the same thing and take care of your family as well. So that said, send me an email, uwinningcourt@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, like the videos, get the word out. The sooner we get these bastards off our backs with all this divide and conquer BS they've been doing, the sooner we can invoke our rights and end this whole song and dance right now and get it over with. Thank you.